Good morning, everybody from sunny California. I am ACN. This is ACN Studios. We are here for another mix tutorial. We want to dive straight in to these 5 guitars we're going to look at, and this tutorial is pretty much just based on mixing these 5 guitars. We're not going to look at anything else. I am going to do some more videos in the future, how to get to the rest of the instruments, but we want to look at these guitars because, once again, I get the questions. How did you make it sound like that? What plugin did you use? What's the balance? Are they stereo? Are they pan left or right? So let's look at that real quick. Let's answer those questions by making a tutorial. I think that's the best way to do it. In this song, I want to show you the context first before we get to the individual tracks. And this is what all those guitars sound like. We have two, if you look over here, the highlighted tracks, we have two acoustic guitars, AGT, that stands for acoustic guitar. And these acoustic guitars are pan left and right, hard left and right. And we have 3 mono electrical guitars, which is crunch, some crunch fills that are taking place here and there, and a distortion guitar that's doing a little bit footwork down here. So let's dive straight in and let's listen to the song in context and see what it sounds like. Perfect. Let's listen to the distortion. Let's listen to that distorted guy over here real quick. Let's see what he's doing. Beautiful. So let's take a look at the console real quick. Before we get to the console, let's look at this crunch fill. It's literally just one. There's just one area that he's playing in. And who's doing the guitars? These are my 2 boys, Jasper and Josh. I know Jasper for sure is doing the 2 acoustics, and I think Josh is doing some of the crunch fills, and the regular just crunch. And they killed it. They did a great job, and the rest of the crew as well as was making the rest of the album. So let's look at the console real quick and see what's the plugins. What are we using looking underneath the hood? Whatever is highlighted in this lime green color, whatever it is, these are our 5 guitars. On the acoustics, here, the question is always about the acoustics. How do you get the acoustics to sound like that? This is well in the mix. Let's listen to those in solo. You can hear the stereo image. That's because they were played individually. So those 2 guitars were played separately, and we got the balance by, instead of using 2 mics, Jasper wanted to play some more mid-range or more at the upper frets at the beginning of the guitar, more darker chords, and then use more brighter tones on the second guitar, which would be to your right, which would be AGT2. That's where you're hearing the more brighter tones and more harmonics in the song. So they are mixed a little bit different. They're not copied and paste settings here that I done when I mixed the first one. When you open up the VMR on the first acoustic, and when you open up on the second one, we have on the second one the mix hub, one of my favorite emulations of the SSL 4000, and this is pretty much what it looks like. There's nothing being done over here with the Neve. Matter of fact, we can even just drag that out of there. It's not really doing anything if we want it. We have the VCC, which is console emulation with the British 4K. That's given more of a console, more of a console sound, and we are boosting at 12K at pretty much, we'll call it 3.5 dB. I think I just raised it when I clicked on it. And I'm carving out 2 dB of 4.5 K, and I am boosting. I'm not going to click on it anymore. I'm just going to let it just sit there. So I'm boosting Uh, I think I have to click on it. I'm boosting 130 hertz at about 8 dB of that. And let's see if the compressor is doing anything on this one. On the first acoustic guitar, the compressor's barely touching 1 dB. It's just kind of when you get that, when it goes from the top string to the bottom and it just gets that big strum, that's pretty much what it's doing. It's probably just ducking it and it's barely doing anything, but it's bringing some good character. And if you have the virtual mix rack by Slate Digital, you have all these compressors to choose from, which are emulations. And I'm not advertising this, by the way. I'm not getting paid for any of this, by the way. Just love helping and love talking about mixing and love talking about music. So just throwing that out there. This one right here, even though you probably think she doesn't hit as hard as the 1176, but this is a very 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 aggressive compressor based on the thresholds, well, on the ratio you choose, which it can go pretty much all the way from 10, and all depends how you use it. So she's running smooth right now. Oh, and we also got Revival, given some shimmer and given some thickness, so it's coming in pretty clear. Let's take a look what we've done with the second one. We are boosting 4.5 dB of some 5K pretty much. If I'm using 5K on a mix, that means I'm trying to get some real clarity out of it so it can stand out more in a mix. And it just worked out fine. I don't think the guitars should be mixed the same. And maybe you can do that. That's up to you. I'm not saying you can. You should do that. Mix it all the same if you like it. But be honest with you, even though they're playing the same rhythm, these guitars are doing two different tones, a darker tone, a brighter tone. I mixed I mixed it a little bit different in the frequencies because I want it to sound different. That was just my perspective here. I'm literally just boosting 4.5 dB of 5K, or we'll call it 5.5K. There's nothing else happening, and she sounds great. And here's what it sounds like in solo when I play them. If you listen to the right, here's what's happening. But also, here's also something else you need to know. It's always good to get a good recording before you get a good mix. Don't just put a microphone in. I hate these words. The word hate is a very big word. You ever don't use the word hate for no reason. Hate is a very disgusting word, but I hate these words personally. I'll fix it in the mix. I'll fix it in the mix. Well, you can fix problems before you get to the mix. When you're mixing, you shouldn't be editing and trying to, something happens. There's no perfection in anything, that you got to fix something in a mix. But if you can fix it before the mix, go right ahead. These two guitars were mic'd properly. They were in a pretty good room, isolated room. I even had Jasper sit a certain way on the chair to not move and make sure everything was right, not too close to the wall, because that can bring certain vibrations, certain sounds, and echo flutters that we don't need in the mix or in the recording. So if you want a good mix, you got to have a good recording. So take it again. We're gonna take a listen again in solo, and here's what it sounds like. Very good. Now, these other guitars over here are being played as well. Let's solo those as well and see what's happening with crunch. She's panned to the left 65%. So you're probably listening saying, well, I hear some hiss in there. This is recorded off of a Marshall. You're getting preamp noise, and that's only natural and normal. And in the mix or in the context of the song, you don't hear that. And even if you did, it sounds great. What does it matter? But of course, there's ways to fix that problem. So what I'm doing with the crunch, that's pretty much playing throughout the whole song, doing these small little licks here and there. I'm boosting we'll call it almost 7 dB. I'm sorry, we're boosting 7 K at 12 dB, boosting 5.5. What is that again? That's over 5.5 hertz or kilohertz. I'm boosting 8 dB with that, getting that clarity, getting that boost, and I'm cutting 4 dB of 5.5. I'm boosting in the low end, 168 at 8 dB, and once again, this FGN, which is the Neve, which is the 1081 version from Slate, it's doing nothing. Let's see if the compressor is doing anything. It's barely moving the needle. I think I seen it hit 1 dB. The console emulation is hitting red, but it's this little guy right here. See this little button or whatever that is? That would light up red if it was distorted. The crunch and the distortion you're hearing is specifically from the amp, and that's pretty much where the original tones are coming from. Let's take a quick listen real quick to this guy over here. Let's see what he's doing in solo. This is the fill. So it's probably doing something with the distorted guitar. I know for sure I put the same settings, so we're not gonna look under the hood there because I know I did the same settings with this one because it's pretty much the same sound. It's the same crunch setting I have on my amp. Let's take a listen to what this distorted guy is doing. Great job. Looking at the plugin, Virtual Mix Rack, I am boosting right here in the shine, just a little over 1 dB. On the Neve, boosting this 1K at about 1.5 dB, cutting 3 dB of 1.75 in the mid ranges and the low mids, and I'm boosting 35 hertz at we'll call it 2 dB to give it not rumble but to give it some weight. I think I'm doing more here with the SSL. I'm boosting in the SSL the 8K pretty much blasted at 15 dB. We got some work being done in the mid range at 4 dB, boosting 2K. I think I just cut that because I'm just in routine religious mode. I feel like I gotta cut something sometimes. But where we're cutting at 400 hertz, and I'm boosting barely 1.5 dB of 90 hertz. And we have Revival doing nothing, and the VCC console, let's see if that's moving. So it's hitting about 5 dB, giving it that console emulation as an SSL would. Let's look back at the console, get rid of this plugin for a second, and let's look at where all this is not being sent, but it's actually all in parallel, because if you notice, all 5 of these guitars, I'll highlight them for you, are being sent to the mix bus, which is all the way to the right down this way, and I'm in parallel right here with instrument. This is an instrument bus, and they're all right over here at the bottom. They're at 0. And like I do with the drums, if you ever seen the drum bus video or the parallel compression video I made about the drums, I just use this right here to feather it all in, and this gives me not just volume. Look, we're not trying to just get volume; we're trying to also get character from using all these great plugins. So with the compressor, let's see what it's doing when they're all playing at one time. So whenever there's a strum or something, or whenever the peaks start to go up, she goes almost at about 4.5 dB to 5 dB of compression. But remember, it's not hitting, even though that's hitting hard. Now the CLA 3A, which this is the pretty much the little brother to the LA 2A, and this compressor, believe it or not, hits harder than an LA 2A. It's more aggressive. This is something I would use on bass. You could even throw this on a vocal to get a dirty vocal if you wanna squash it. This is a great compressor, and the reason why I chose it, because not because it's gonna distort. You're not gonna get a distorted sound. You'll get more, and you know what? You're not even gonna get that big of a washy sound from it. That some people don't like that sound, which I don't personally as well, because we're not trying to squash nothing. But what it's gonna do, it's actually gonna make it stand more in the mix. It's actually going to it's going to boost the frequencies more that you can hear without when you don't have a compressor. And if instead of squashing the frequencies with this compressor, it's actually going to amplify them to bring them more to life. And even though she's hitting hard, she's in parallel mode, meaning it's not being sent there where I can control the volume. This is in parallel. I add it there. And this compressor is doing a great job at hitting almost 5 dB of compression and bringing to life the mix. And this is an instrument bus. That means all my instruments are being in parallel from there, except for the drums. I'm not saying being sent there, because they're not sent there. Because if they was, I would be able to control the volume. This is just adding more. This is just me feathering in the sound. And also for EQ on this, tried something a little bit different, and I don't know if you've ever used this plugin by Jack Joseph Puig with JJP, which is an amazing mixing engineer, done work for some of the greatest artists you heard on the radio, some of the best albums ever made. So I have here his guitar plugin that he made, and using some of these knobs and faders and raising them with some lows and some highs. This edge right over here gives it this grit, this warm, which I love that. I love that statement he made, that he made something in there that says warm. Not a lot of people like that word, but I do. And he has some sustain, and some things are disabled, most things are enabled. This sensitive knob is what would bring like saturation or distortion, but that's pretty much almost in the middle. And it sounds great with it on, so it done a great job in the settings and everything, and I just moved around a few things, and it came out great. And that's what's going on with the bus, everything being in parallel with that, and that's the sound we're getting. Let's take a listen real quick before I let you go in context with the song at this spot over here, when we have that distortion guitar come in. So now you got pretty much the image of what took place under the hood with the 5 guitars that was played, 2 acoustics, 3, we have 3 electric guitars, and that's would be my workflow on this song. Every song is different. Sometimes we don't stay consistent. I have a workflow personally. I don't usually stay consistent. If the song is simple and it doesn't need that much touch to it, we just keep it religious, keep it in the routine that we have. Some different moves were made here on this song, but if this is something you've been struggling with in your mix, with how to balance them and how to get them sounding correctly and make them stand in the mix, if this is something that can help you or something that can help someone else, please send it their way, and subscribe, leave me a comment. And if there's a certain mix tutorial that you want to personally see me mix, or some stuff that maybe I mixed before that you want to know the rundown, we can do a shootout on that one as well. So speak to me, let me know. Let's talk, make some noise, let me know how you feel. And this is ACN Studios. Thank you for stopping by once again.